Very good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're joining us all around Australia, all around the world on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Welcome to our ongoing live and exclusive coverage of the RSRA Super Series. This is round 4 of 12 tonight for the first time in the new season. We leave North America. We head to Europe for back-to-back events. First up, Germany. Next week, Great Britain. And this is the start of 3 formats in as many weeks. Next week, Super Sprint Racing. The week after, the first of the Enduros of the campaign, and a lot to be excited about here. It's the Nurburgring in Germany playing host to round 4. The Racecraft Simulations Nurburgring 160. Good evening, everybody. Zach Caban alongside JP. Welcome to our exclusive coverage here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting of the RSRA Super Series. 3 rounds down, 3 compelling rounds thus far. Rainer Costello still the man despite no shortage of drama and competition at the pointy end of the field on the youngster. JP's here alongside me, mate. We couldn't write the scripts if we tried. The last 2 weeks, the way the races have finished, poor old Dylan Rudd, luck surely has to fall his way at least this week if it's going to fall his way at any point in the championship, considering 2 weeks ago he ran out of fuel on the cooldown lap. Last week, he blew the engine up on the very last lap. This guy has to buy some luck eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Zach, and good evening to everybody watching throughout Australia and around the world. Yeah, look, like you said, we could not have written this if we tried. The luck that Dylan has had over the last 2 weeks has been absolutely abysmal. He'll certainly be looking to make amends tonight.
Indeed, he will. Well, now, the championship points paint an interesting picture coming into this round on the back of that engine failure for Dylan Rudd last week. Rainer Costello enjoys a slender advantage at the top end of town, but by no means can he afford to get complacent. Let's have a look at the championship standings if we can as we come into this round. The Racecraft Simulation or Nurburgring 160. Rainer Costello on top by 23 points at the moment from Alex Court, who, again, has just been playing a consistent card throughout the course of the season. 2 podium finishes thus far. He's going nicely. He's 1 point clear of Dylan Rudd. Dean Reddit and Matthew Scholes locked on 415 points. Blake Warboys and Rehan Leonage, one of the emerging stars of the RSRA Super Series, they're both locked on 400. Mitch Campbell, 386. Peter Crossingham, 378. And Dean Powell, 368, make up the top 10 at this point in time. Alan Dawson is 11th on 361. Jamie Dyke, 358. Ben Morris, 356. And Dean Alessi, 354. Dylan Pereira, 353, makes up the 15. But even there, look at that. 8 points separates 11th and 15th. They're not far off the top 10. They're knocking on the door quite literally at the moment. And see what they can come up with tonight. Chris Barnes, Craig Schultz, Rod Hollis, Brian Cooper, and Lindsay Hobbs make up the top. Now, we'll let that keep scrolling through so you can have a look at where your favourite driver's sitting at the moment. JP, we've got 33 on the grid tonight. So, whilst it is the smallest field, I mean, it's still a huge field. And this is one of the longer tracks on the calendar. A lot of real estate to play with. But with this field being so evenly made, everyone's going to find someone to race with tonight. There shouldn't be anyone too lonely out there.
Absolutely, Zach. Look, 33 cars going into turn 1 is going to certainly be a sight to see. We've had a few people drop off and unable to race tonight, but still having 33 cars in the field is going to, there's plenty of cars. There's going to be plenty of action tonight.
Indeed there is. Now, we're going to go for a hot lap here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to finally bring you an RSRA Super Series hot lap here. Our good mate JP put this together earlier in the week as we jump on board and go for a lap of the 5.6 kilometre Nurburgring circuit.
Welcome aboard the 555 SimShed Broadcasting Holden ZB Commodore. I'm JP, and today I'll take you for a hot lap of the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit for the Real Sim Racing Australia Super Series and Super 2E Series. So we're looking for a good exit out of turn 16, short shift to 3rd gear, and start working through the gears, making sure to stay off the rev limiter. Now start going a little wide here, want to brake in a straight line, brake hard, start to modulate the brakes, shifting down into 2nd gear, try not to lock up, modulate the brake here through turn 1. On we go to turn 2. In second gear as high as we can. Off the gas to help the car turn in. Short shift to third gear. Get on the power early. On the brakes into second gear now. Trail the brake going in. Release the brake. Help the car turn. On the power now. Off the power again to help the nose turn in. And we short shift into third gear to get out of that corner and get on the power as early as we can. On the brakes just here at the marker. Trail the brake in, on the power early again, off the power, brake in again, turn the car in early, try to short shift it on the power as early as we can. Heading towards turn 8 now, go through the gears, make sure not to hit the rev limiter. At the marker here, we start to brake hard, shift down, trail the brake, into second gear, open up the face of the corner to get a good exit. Early on the gas, into third gear, move across to the other side of the road. We want to use that section here as a berm, slight touch of the brake to bring the car across again. On the power, and we're on our way to turn 11. Just here at the marker, on the brakes, down into second. I like to use second, turn in early, short shift to third. On the power, back down into second, turn in early again, short shift to third. Get on that power as early as you possibly can. Use all the track coming out of there. Flat through this corner here, on our way to Vidal chicane. At the 100 metre mark, we start to brake. Lead off the brake, shift down into third gear, get on the power early, back off again, back onto the power, use this as a berm, brake early, into second gear, open the face of this corner up, get on the power as early as we can, into third gear, we short shift, on the power, and we're on our way to the finish line. Well, that's about it from me. I'm JP. Thanks for joining me for a hot lap of the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit for round 4 of the Real Sim Racing Australia Super Series and Super 2 Series. Back to you, Zach.
You can tell he's done that before, ladies and gentlemen. JP at the helm of the RSRA Supercar, taking you for a lap of the 5.148 kilometre Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. Now, I apologise. I said 5.6. My iRacing server, would you believe it or not, I've just had a look at that. It says 6.29. So, don't know what it's been smoking, the iRacing server, but it's not quite there. And subtraction, not my strong point first up in a broadcast. But no, 5.148 kilometres. This circuit, probably an opportune moment as Matt Davis joins us in the booth, and I'm going to bring him in just a moment to have a look at the race stats and information for tonight. The Racecraft Simulations Nurburgring 160. Let's have a look at these for you, and we can tell you that this race will be 32 laps. 164.8 kilometres is the race distance. Pit lane spared only 60 kilometres an hour for these guys. 55 litre fuel restriction, 2 pit stops, 4.10 litres per lap fuel burn. So on those numbers, they're easily going to be able to get 13 laps out of a tank here. 2 set tyre limit on these cars. So therefore, that's the set they start on. And of course, the set that they can take at either the first or second pit stop. Race time is set for today's date, the 13th of the 7th, 2021, 9:25 local time, which equates to 5:25 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So we're a little bit out of sync there, but that's all good. 22 air temp, 24 on track, wind speed, 14 kilometres an hour, tending southwesterly this time round. And quickly, as we always do, I should remind you, incident points kicking at 14x and every 7x thereafter. And looking forward to seeing how this race plays out tonight. Matt Davis, good evening to you. Welcome into the booth for the first time in the RSRA Super Series this season, mate. Nice to have you on board. A big race ahead here at the Nurburgring and a critical point of the championship for someone like Dylan Rudd. As I said in the opener to JP, he needs to buy some luck tonight.
Good evening, Zach. Good evening, everybody watching at home all around the world across the platforms. JB, a big good evening to you, mate, and thank you for doing my job for me. The hot lap around the Nurburgring did look good on the live stream, I must admit. And I apologise to all the viewers for not being able to see me in the hot seat. Unfortunately, work permitting, the times have gotten a bit late on the Tuesday nights. I'm just able to make it home on Wednesday night, so fortunately. Yeah, big night at the Nurburgring, an even bigger one for Dylan Rudd. I haven't been following too closely on the Tuesday nights. The action over on Wednesday night's been really heating up over there, but the Tuesday night action, from what I hear, is almost looking like it's going to be something very similar to last season.
Indeed. And Rainer Costello with a slender championship advantage at this point in time, and he'll be hoping to stay in front all the way to the checkered flag on the last round of the season. at Mount Panorama Bathurst, and we'll bring that to you on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting Tuesday, September 7. You don't want to miss that. I can't believe I'm talking that far in advance already, but it's that kind of year, ladies and gentlemen. Now, just quickly, big night tonight as far as international sport is concerned. The Wallabies up against France in the second rugby union test. Not a good start for the Wallabies. They're down 13-3 at the moment. More updates on that as we go here. A huge thanks to everyone that's tuning in at the moment on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. We're really looking forward to having you with us throughout the course of the evening. Make sure you let us know where you're tuning in from, what you're making of what you're seeing throughout the course of the night. And we are looking forward to going racing in Germany for the first time this season. In fact, when you look at the calendar, I mean, it's such a diverse calendar. From here, we go to Alton Park, then the Chicago Street Circuit, then Belle Isle, then back to the Red Bull Ring, Imola, Twin Ring, Phillip Island, and Bathurst. So no second trip to Germany here. This is the first and only trip to Germany. But what do you got? Canada, USA, Germany, Great Britain, Austria, Italy, Japan, and Australia. 8 different countries in 12 weeks. So a couple of double ups there. Obviously, America gets a good run with 4 rounds, 2 rounds in Australia as well. And then the other 6 countries there thrown in for good measure. Big night ahead. Looking forward to this race. Dylan Rudd has taken pole position here, ladies and gentlemen, 153.817. Rainer Costello, 154.036. So 0.2 of a second the advantage, Dylan Rudd over Rainer Costello. The warm-up is just being conducted at the moment, or the driver's briefing, as it were. Aaron Dodd, Dylan Pereira, Blake Warboys, and Rehan Leonage, the top 6 here. And Matt, one of the most, and JP's here as well in the booth. It's the 3 of us in here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be good fun. Matt, the emergence of Rehan Leonage, you've been watching this guy progress and develop in the Super 2E series, be it in its previous form, Goodyear Autocar Arana, or of course now RSRA. He is just his dad in a junior form, so well spoken, so well conducted on the racetrack, and a good head on young shoulders.
Oh, he's an absolutely ripper young driver. He's got the wits of his old man Lassus Leonage behind him in the ear, helping him along the way, especially with the setups. Now moving to open setups for the young man. Obviously moving away from the fixed setups, which he was so used to. So having a little bit more play in the setup is really, really helping that young man.
All right, let's have a look at the grid for this round of the championship. Cars lining up on the grid here. Dylan Rudd from pole position. He's made a habit of that so far this season. Rainer Costello's alongside him. Aaron Dodd from row 2 alongside Dylan Pereira. Blake Warboys, Rehan Leonage from row 3. Then Peter Crossingham and Alex Court from row 4. Sean McNamara and Jamie Dyke from row 5. And all interesting 5th row there. And then, of course, Brenton Nitschke and Cameron Jones from row 6. Sean McNamara looking to continue the form that he showed last week. Matt, from row 7 to 12.
Row 7, we've got Robert Crisdale and Benny Morris. Row 8, we'll see Ash Davis and Simon Chadwick lead from there. Row 9, we'll see Matty Scholes and Kai Turner. It's good to see them on Tuesday Night Motorsport. Row 10, we'll see Dean Reddit and Rick Sibra. Row 11, we'll see Rod Hollis, Dean Alessi. And row 12, we'll see David Kirby and Sam Noble.
Behind them, Hayden Norris, Brian Cooper, Alan Dawson, Dean Powell, Mitch Campbell, Chris Barnes, Lindsay Hobbs, Craig Newell, and Craig Schultz as they get the start. Underway, round 4 of the championship. Helter Skelter on the run towards turn 1. Nice clean conversion from Dylan Rudd. Rainer Costello tucks into second position. Aaron Dodd's around the outside there as they head towards turn 1. A little bit of a skirmish further back in the pack. It's a little bit helter-skelter there. Excuse me, everybody trying to find a safe piece of real estate. A clean piece of real estate, and they've finally managed to get through unscathed, which is pretty nicely done. All things considered, a little bit tippy-toey further back. Oh, no, hang on, we've got 1 around. We've got 2 around. 2 around on the exit of the stadium section. Ben Morris, one of those.
Jamie Dyke, another.
Has started from pit lane as well, boys, important to note. And Jamie Dyke, the other spinner. And they are right down at the back of the order right now. So, lap 1 of 32. Craig Schultz, we're being told, is rebuilding his PC between rounds. So, it'll be interesting to see if that serves him well tonight. Dylan Rudd, Rainer Costello. 1 and 2 here, but Aaron Dodd up on the outside. Can't get it done, but he's applying the pressure to Rainer Costello in the early stages here. So, Matt, very sensible driving from all concerned there in the stadium section. Those first couple of quarters, they can be quite slow for these cars as everybody just tries to survive that first couple of quarters and get themselves spread out so that they can go about their business.
Yeah, it's a very tricky one to get around at the start, especially on cold tyres at the Nurburgring. I personally haven't done many laps around here at all. I was hoping to get on for the hot lap to at least get a slow one in for the viewers at home, but unfortunately couldn't manage that one. But no, very tricky section through the stadium on cold tyres, and for all drivers to get through there fairly unscathed, minus a couple, very well going by them.
So, down to turn 1, second lap. 5.148 kilometre circuit. Now, we mentioned that the fuel burn is 55 litres and the fuel burn is 4.1 per lap. So 55 divided by 4.1, 13.41. So the smart guys will be trying to stretch that to 14. However, there's no real necessity to do that, Matt Davis, because at 13 and 26, you've then only got another 6 laps to run from there. So the good thing is, you've got a little bit of overlap and a bit of flexibility with your fuel strategy tonight. You can go a short run at the top and 2 long runs. You can go a long, short, long, or 2 longs and a short. There's a bit of scope for variety here, and if we get a safety car, well, all bets are off.
Yeah, it's very mixed up tonight in the fuel strategy, or the pit strategies, I should say. A lot of talk over at the E1 shed of trying to do the 13. I think it was a 13.6.13. And a few of the other boys said 12.8.12, something along those lines. So that's going to be I reckon the big one for everyone tonight is to go the long stint first up, do a short stint on the used tyres, and then try and pit for those fresh tyres and do a long stint towards the end of the race.
There they go. We're on board with Rehan Leonage at the moment. We go back to Kai Turner. And Turner having a look here at the moment, trying to find a way by Matthew Scholes. Brenton Nitschke, my apologies, my typing screen is frozen, boys, so I'm a little bit up the creek without a paddle here. I tell you what, though,
Get to the
Turner's got the
wall!
elbows out of the early stages. No! There we go. That's the first big one of the night. Turner kisses the concrete and the Armco. The Armco first on the concrete. Turner.
All right, Turner up on the inside, ladies and gentlemen. Just gets a little bit of a tag, and around he goes into the combing rail. Unlucky for Kai Turner.
Side draft contact. Side draft contact. Let's have a look from the second angle here if we can, as Kai Turner is able to resume down in 32nd position. He's limping that car back to pit lane. This is what it looked like from the other angle. There is a little bit of hip and shoulder here, side to side contact, a little bit of a wiggle on Turner's part, and that unsettled him. And next thing, 3, 2, 1, bang. Heavy hit, but thankfully far enough off the racing line to not impede anybody else or make that a bigger incident than it might have otherwise been. Now, Brenton Nitschke was the other one and caught up in all of that as Turner limps his way back to pit lane. What a shocking start to the night for him. Dylan Rudd, in the meantime, on lap 3, leads this race, 154.67. He's fastest lap thus far.
Away from Costello and Dodd. Warboys and Pereira battling it out there for second position as well, Zach. And he's out to nearly a 2-second lead while he's second, third, fourth, and Pereira just hanging back there in 5th. Decides to dice it out here at the opening laps of the race.
Along the main straight again, Dylan Rudd, Rainer Costello, Aaron Dodd, Blake Warboys, the top 4 at the moment. And we are on lap 4. So it's a 32 lap race. So we're only at the completion of this lap, we're only 12.5% of the way through the journey tonight, ladies and gentlemen. These 160-kilometre races, just a little bit up on last season's 150-kilometre sprint races, and it's just adding that little bit of extra fuel to the fire. It's been really good thus far, and as you've seen, the last 2 weeks, last week decided on the very last lap, the week before decided on the cool-down lap, for goodness sake. We wait and see what we might be in for here tonight, and it's been just as gripping, just as compelling, just as intriguing in the RSRA SuperSeries series, and I'm going to get Matt Davis to preview that upcoming 4th round for their championship before he skedaddles out of here at the end of this race tonight. And we appreciate him stepping in at the 11th hour to sub for our mate Chris Kisby. We can only assume that the network is down in Tasmania tonight. Kai Turner out of business, and he's in pit lane, and he's but at least he got back to pit lane, and that means we go safety car free for the moment. We've had a safety car in all 3 races so far this season. Will we see one tonight? We wait and see. Rudd, Costello, Dodd, Warboys, Pereira, Court, the top 6 at the moment. Alex Court, again, Matt Davis, he's qualifying has been the Achilles heel here. But at least he races well. And strategy, here we go. Have a look at this. I'll come back to Alex Court. Costello defending with Dodd all over the back of him at the moment as they come through. Now, you might notice too, they're not using the usual chicane that the Formula 1 cars would. They're using the sports car equivalent of the chicane there. And as they come out of the main straight, Costello's doing a nice job to hold on from Dodd at the moment. All boys, Pereira then Court. But again, Matt Davis, it's the Racecraft that sees Alex Court at the pointy end of town at the end of the race. Last week he was helped out by Dylan Rudd's engine failure on the last lap. The week before that he was helped out by Dylan Rudd getting a 3-place penalty. The week before that, he was helped out by Sean McNamara and one of the other drivers, I think it might have been Mikelima Surya, coming together. We've got a car off here on the run to the main straight. That's not the first time we've seen drama out of that section of the circuit tonight. That was Brenton Nitschke, and not for the first time he's been involved in the drama at this end of the circuit, I might add. So, again, it's about consistency, and Court's been a pretty good exponent of that so far this season, Matt Davis.
Yeah, I must admit, he's been an absolute fantastic racer last season, and this season it just goes to show how consistent Alex Court is in the V8 Supercar. He's consecutively qualified within the top 10, which has been his strong point. And he's even mentioned he's just run nice, clean races, and luckily enough, was able to get a few places granted thanks to obviously Dylan Rudd's the past 2 weeks of unluckiness, I should say, and then obviously Mikelima Surya and Sean McNamara, the R's coming together there on the final laps, was able to pop him up there into another podium. So his consistency is good, and his racecraft is even better. He looks after the tyres, he looks after the fuel as well. And I mean, all in saying that, he's part of the NTS team. He's obviously been observing Lastolino very closely in what he was doing last season. He was able to convert that into some nice, clean races.
I tell you what, Aaron Dodd wanted to have a look there on the inside of Raider Costello, wasn't able to do it. Blake Warboyd's lunging onto the back of that now. And it's all of a sudden a 3-way fight for second as Dylan Rudd continues to skip clear. Right on board with Costello, looking out the back to Rudd. Dodd, I should say. I'm getting Dodds and Rudds mixed up at the moment. There's 2 Ds in both, but no. There's 3 Ds in Dodd, and he's the one there in the 737. They're both 3-digit numbers as well. One's 990 and one's 737. You're looking at the 737. That is Aaron Dodd. Blake Warboy's back behind them. Then Dylan Pereira as they head down towards the hairpin to complete the first half of this, the 6th lap of the race. It's been a cracking scrap so far from Aaron Dodd. And again, he's a guy that's been unlucky the last couple of weeks as well. We should have seen Aaron Dodd, more to the point, challenging with Dylan Rudd and Rainer Costello. Maybe this is his time to shine tonight as well.
Well, I haven't, like I said earlier in the evenings, that I haven't been paying too much close attention to the Tuesday night motorsport for the Super Series, but from what I've seen in placings and obviously Discord chat, it looks like it might be Dodd's time to shine and get the move done on Costello, provide some shelter for his teammate. He's all over the back bumper now of Costello as they come through the chicane. Dodd applying immense tons of pressure to Costello, and Costello is not going to be used to this at all. We know Costello likes to have his clean races and be up at the pointy end. But we also know that he can make that Mustang as wide can be when he needs to.
Yeah, he won't like this sort of pressure, I wouldn't assume, Matt. But at the end of the day, having this sort of pressure is good for his development as a driver and will help him adapt and, I guess, expand his racecraft just a little bit more.
Yeah, he'll go back tonight, regardless of where he finishes. He'll be going back tonight, looking over the replay with his engineer, Dan Coughlin Engineering, and finding out his strengths and weaknesses, and also seeing where he can fine-tune that setup just to get a little bit more drive out of the corners, where obviously the 9.5 boys tonight, they've got that set up absolutely dialed in. Arad is pulling away steadily, or not steadily, but he's holding a nearly a 2-second lead over Costello and Dodd at the moment. And I mean, this battling going on between Costello and Dodd, this has invited War Boys to be able to stay on the back of that group as well. So that's going to be a fight that's going to be seen going right through to the end of the night, ladies and gentlemen. It will be one that will be a battle that will be won on pit lanes. So one to watch out, I reckon, tonight, Zach.
This is a cracking scrap in the early stages as well, further back in the field. 9.56 to 9.51, Peter Crossingham, Sean McNamara behind them, Cameron Jones as well. Jones, it's fair to say, it hasn't been his season to this point, but McNamara would have just been relieved to get to the finish last week after retirement in the closing stages of the opening round at Montreal in Canada at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, or, of course, the retirement on lap 1 of the second round at Watkins Glen in New York. Have a look at this, though, the pressure being applied. Position number 9, McNamara. Down the inside, into turn 16, onto the main straight, still tucking into the slipstream here, trying to find a way by Peter Crossingham. Does he have a lunge at turn 1, or is he happy to sit there and be patient for the moment? Yes, he's happy to sit in and be patient, because, again, early doors, it's only lap 8 of 32. A long way to go here as we have a look at Dean Powell now coming down the inside, halfway down the main straight. Sam Noble in the thick of that as well, and Powell going down the inside to 18, make it to 17. Rod Hollis is in pit lane. In the meantime, as Powell alleviates a little bit of pressure there, he gets rid of Noble and builds a couple of car length advantage there, and slots himself in a 17th position.
Nice clean little move into the inside of turn 1 there for Powell, able to skip away, and that also invited Hayden Norris to the battle as well, to have a look up the inside of Sam Noble. So almost 2 for the price of 1 there. 2 for the price of 1 loss, should I say, for Sam Noble there, but he was able to cover the inside line going into 2, which minimised the loss deficit there for the positions. So good little hard battling all the way through the packs tonight, all the way through the pack tonight, Zach, as well. It's yellow and red throughout my timing board on my screen, which is good to see, and it's the battling from what I'm seeing so far is pretty even across the 2 nights of motorsport.
Yeah, absolutely. Scrapping and dicing has been a hallmark of the championship thus far, and it's important to note too, when you look at the gaps that you talk about, Matt, that was something I mentioned in the opener with JP, the fact that we have only 33 in the race, 32 now with Kai Turner out of business. It speaks volumes of the competition here, the intensity, and the aggressiveness and the attack of these guys, that even though this is a smaller field, you look around this racetrack, there aren't too many people lonely out there. The only person that's really lonely is Dylan Rudd. He's out in the lead. He's got a 1.5 second advantage to Raider Costello, who has still got Aaron Dodd all over his tail. and then Blake Warboys. Dylan Pereira and Alex Corder are a little bit lonely at the moment, but then it's just yellow and orange all the way down our timing screen at the moment, which means everyone's dicing for position, jockeying for in this fight. To the point, if you make one mistake, especially here, while you've got all these cars so tightly bunched together, it is gonna be costly. Through we go. We're on board here with one of the Fords in the field. That is, of course, the 34 of Dean Alessi. So we've gone further down the order here, down towards about 25th position. Morris just ahead of him, and then in 23rd is Brian Cooper. So that's the battle you're watching there at the moment. At the head of that is David Kirby in 22nd. A little bit Kirby would like to be, and you'd expect to see Kirby, to be honest. But 24 laps to go. Rudd, Costello, Dodd, the top three at the moment. So status quo at the pointy end of town as we watch the field come through the back section of the circuit. Again, back to that battle. Now, we turn our attention back to the front of the field. I was going to get excited about the mid-pack battle because that looked like it was going for young and old as well. But right here, now, this is Rainer Costello fighting for his life with Aaron Dodd. And Costello could very easily just tuck into third. Costello could very easily just tuck into third here and happily let Dodd go, because he knows that if he finishes third tonight to these two, he's still going to lead the championship. But at the end of the day, he's a racer, and he knows that every point counts. And given that he lost out by a point last season, he's not going to give away a point this season if he can help it. Now, that's a very nice piece of driving from the pair of them through turn 1 and 2. Dodd had a look, but was unable to get the job done. Costello trying to get down the to defend the line through turn 3 and 4, and does so nicely. And in behind them, Blake Warboys, well, he's got the best seat in the house at the moment, Matt Davis.
Yeah, Warboys does have the best seat in the house, and I mean, Costello's got to be careful as well. He's obviously going for those bonus points, the 5 clean, or the 5 points for the clean race tonight, the 0x. So he's got to be careful. He doesn't get mixed up at the moment with Dodd and battling it out. If he cops just the 1x, those 5 points will be toast. So Warboy's got the best seat in the house, waiting for something to happen to these two come together and they both spin out. That's position granted to Warboys there, and he'll find himself in second position. And going back to the field size tonight, mate, I think obviously we've had a big field every night, or every Tuesday night and Wednesday night at the moment. I think the couple cars are missing. One, obviously, Nurburgring may not be a favourite for some, but the other one, Jacob Brewer as well. Unfortunately, he's not feeling too well tonight. He got the AstraZeneca vaccine, or whatever you want to call it, the jab, and unfortunately copped the side effects to that. So hopefully he pulls up nice and well for next week, and all the best on the men there, mate, and hopefully see you back out on the track. But definitely a battle to watch tonight will be second, third, and fourth position.
You can understand why some people like myself, when we've got a busy workload, aren't rushing out to get the AstraZeneca jab or the Pfizer jab for that matter, given the side effects not yet for 6 more than the virus itself. Dinkum. On to the main straight. We wish him all the best, though. Hopefully he'll be back on deck next week. Also, I'm just looking through the field here. Young Michele Masuria not out there tonight either. So there's another notable absentee tonight. Robert Crisdale sitting there in 11th position at the moment. Cameron Jones is 10th. Sean McNamara is 9th. Crisdale holding off Ash Davis, Simon Chadwick and Matthew Scholes at the moment. 15th position, rounding out the top 15 in this race at the moment. We're on lap 11 of 32, so 1/3 race distance done. Rudd leads Costello and Dodd Warboys, and ever so slightly, margin. Let's just focus on those boys at the front at the moment, not in terms of what you're seeing on the screen, but just in terms of statistics. Costello slowly but surely chipping away at Rudd's advantage. It's gone from 2.2 back to 1.3, then out to 1.6, then back again. So they're slowly but surely trying to go with Costello there, with Rudd there, I should say. It's 1.7 now, so it's fluctuating all the time. But it's at least steady for Rudd, in the sense that he hasn't got too much pressure on him at the moment. Here's Chris Barnes in 19th position, and Hayden Norris in 20th. With apologies to anyone tuning in at home wondering why I'm getting a little bit muddled here. My SDK live timing's just hooped itself, so I'm running off the iRacing service. So that only gets updated lap by lap, whereas everything else gets updated as we go here. So the best thing to do instead of paying attention to me would be to have a look at the bottom of your screen there as the scoreboard scrolls along from left to right, or from right to left, I should say. Onto the main straight we go. We're watching Rainer Costello. He's closing in all the time on Dylan Rudd at the front end of town. This race is well and truly alive, and we're in that fuel window now too, Matt Davis, which is important.
There we are in that fuel window. We're on the 12th lap of the race, so look out for pit lane, ladies and gentlemen, because no doubt our timing boards are going to be lighting up, and at the bottom of your screen will be lighting up there as Chris Dale's into the pits now to take his first pit stop of the race. So look out for that pit stop window at the bottom of your screen there, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be telling you who's in the pits and who's going to be exiting the pits as well. So have a look for that one. See where Costello is, see where Rudd is, see where Dodd is. Like I said, it's going to be a race on pit lane for positions 2 and 3, and most likely 4th as well if Warboys can get into this fight.
Right, Costello. Right, Warboys. There you go. You can see them all in your shot as they head down towards the hairpin at the back end of the circuit here. 21 laps to go. Remember, 13, 14 laps, 14 max. If you can do a little bit of fuel saving in the first 13, you can get a 14th lap out of your tank. You won't get any change from 14 though. Don't try and get a 15th out of it. There's no need to stretch it that far tonight. There's no real need to stretch it to 14. 13, 13 and 6 is a good number. And in fact, if you want to work from 6, I mean, back to, 10. So what's that? 13, 9 and 10. So there's so many ways you can spice up the strategy play tonight here. 12, 10 and 10. Another way that you can go. I don't want to bore you all senseless with numbers tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a numbers game. And we talk about the race strategy here, the pit strategy. More importantly, Matt Davis, when these guys opt for fresh tyres as well.
Fresh tyres is the biggest maker as we go to a Nationwide Technology Systems replay for you, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Chadwick, the 295 boys in the mix here. We wonder what's going to happen here. Up on the inside of his teammates. Teammate just runs wide there, the 955. That would be Ash Davis in that sled right there. Running a little bit wide out into the gravel track. Doesn't get the drive. Chadwick just zips on by. And Alex caught Peter Crossingham and Matty Scholes in the pit lane as well, Zach. So there's the first pit stoppers of the race from the top 10.
Yeah.
So what are the leaders going to do to follow suit? Will they pit lap 13? Will they pit lap 14? We'll just have to wait and see.
It's just starting to get busy out there, which is good to see. Caught quick, off the blocks and gone. No mucking around from Alex Court, potentially a sign that he might be running an undercut.
Might be going for that short 6, 7 lap stint
on the tyres. Exactly, and then 12 or 13 to get us home. 20 to go, lap 13 of the race. 32 laps, 160 kilometres tonight for you, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Nurburgring 160. Thanks to Racecraft Simulations. On the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, we ride with Blake Warboys. Trying to go with the top 3 here. Rainer Costello, Aaron Dodd just ahead of him there. And look at Dodd giving Costello the huge hurry up here. I tell you what, Dodd's a real chance as you ride on board with Warboys. Have a look at that. 2 teaspoons of bugger all separating them at the moment. And it's Costello managing to hold on, playing defensive as they head into the chicane.
Oh, big slide by Costello. In the pits they come.
And everyone dived in. The top 4 are all in. We're just hearing that might end up being a penalty for Aaron Dodd. Aaron Dodd or Rainer Costello, because both of them crossed that control line there going into pit lane. So again, race control are going to have their work cut out for them. They've been cracking down on pit lane procedures so far this season, Matt Davis, across both splits. They might have to look at the entry and exit process as well.
Yeah, entry and exit process definitely a bit late on the dive there by Dodd. I mean, Costello had a big slide as well coming out of the second final corner before pit lane there. So that didn't help Costello coming into the pits. And I think Dodd was a little bit spooked by that. I mean, they were both, or he was on the back bumper of Costello and just maybe got a little bit freaked out, ran wide just to give Costello room so he didn't take him out, and then dived in last minute. So race control might be a little bit lenient on that, being that Costello had a slide coming into pit lane. So we'll just have to wait and see what pops up on our screen.
So still only the one retirement in the race thus far, that being Kai Turner. He will be classified as 33rd and last in this race tonight. Dylan Rudd, Rainer Costello, Aaron Dodd were the top three in this race. They all pitted. Dylan Pereira now has the race lead, but for how long? Because we know he's got to come into the pits at the end of this lap. So our leaders have completed their first stop. Pereira doing the long stint first, trying to edge that extra little half a lap out of his fuel tank. And he's successfully done that. So we expect him in this time by. It's a long game for Pereira, but at what cost as they make their way into the pits now? Because at the end of the day, to fuel save, you've got to compromise some of your speed somewhere along the way. It's not much over the course of 13 laps, but it does make all the difference. Is it worth stretching the fuel tank to compromise or to try and get track position now? Or is it going to cost you race position later once it all balances out and the second pit
Have a
stops
look
come
on
played out?
screen for a second,
I
Zach,
know.
because Alex Court has pipped and Dodd on the pit lane and was able to get out in front. Now sits comfortably behind Costello there, but Dodd all over the back of Court at the moment.
So this is Rudd, Costello, Court, Dodd. And again, the margin between Rudd and Costello has halved. It's shortened. It's narrowed. All those adjectives as they come down the main straight. Court defending Rudd on the inside. Have a look at this as they head down towards turn one. So,
I'll get the run around the outside to two.
oh, jeez. And my apologies, I'm getting my Dodds and my Rudds confused again. That was Dodd on the inside of Court. Job done. Court fighting back on the run into turn two. Still side by side they go. In the meantime, Rudd leads Costello. We've got a return to the front for Rudd and Costello back there in second now. So order restored at the front end of town. Pereira, Leonage, Reddit, Barnes all in this time by just gone at the end of lap 14. And Dylan Rudd resumes order at the top end of town. Restores order, I should say, as they head down the back straight. So Raw Boys now, he applies the pressure of Alex Court. Court has been displaced by Aaron Dodd. Dodd now goes out in pursuit of Rainer Costello once more. So just quickly to you, Matt Davis, with regards to the fuel caper here, do you see any advantage in trying to stretch it 14 laps when you know you've got to make two stops anyway? Is there any point for the boys that stretched it to 14 laps to do that?
I don't really see a big advantage. I mean, I think the biggest advantage at the moment goes to Alex Court. He pitted early, took the least amount of fuel to do a nice short stint, 6-7 laps, and to try and get those fresh tyres put on. And it's paid dividends. He's able to pit Blake Warboys. He was able to pit Aaron Dodd only for a short time though, and he's propped himself up in the fourth position there, and he could be seeing himself on the podium again tonight.
Here we go. Alex Court, fourth position at the moment. And the podium positions have been handed to him the last couple of weeks. But now he's going to have to work really hard for it tonight. Rudd, Costello, Dodd, Court, and then Warboys the top five to turn 1:17 to go. What's going to be interesting here though, Matt, is with that shorter fuel run, will Alex Court pit early and therefore compromise his run home in a sense, because he's going to get the advantage out of the fresh rubber before the guys behind him. But then, it's a double-edged sword. Technically, if it plays out the way we think it's going to play out, where Court pits earlier than these guys around him, he's going to be on older rubber on the run to the checkered flag in those final, most critical final laps.
Well, it depends on what the boys up front do. If Court does the short stint, which by the looks of it he is going to be doing, and then go for the long stint towards the end, it depends on what the boys out front are going to do. If they run the tyres right to the end and go for a short stint run home, Court's going to be on fresher tyres earlier, and those fresher tyres to old should I say, super old used rubber on the front runners, could play into Court's hand quite a lot, and he will be only running what he would see about now on those tyres towards the end of the stint. So, or when he first pitted towards the end of his stint at the end of the race there. So it could actually play into the hands of Court here, and he could be staring down the eye of another third podium position.
Could well be. We'll follow it with interest. Remember, we'll chat to the top three in this race post-race, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Davis will depart after the race because, again, he wasn't scheduled to be here this evening. He's stretching the friendship with some parties to be here tonight. But
literally walked in the door from work, turned the computer on, mate, and jumped straight in the booth. So was watching it on the way home, on the way home from the yard, and just jumped in the booth to give JP a bit of a break. So we all know how busy that man is behind the scenes during the week, and obviously on Tuesday and Wednesday night motorsport.
No, we're grateful for you coming in. You can work out a way to repay the brownie points to the bride a little bit later on. Lap 17 of 32, as Ben Morris sits there in 21st position at the moment, all over the back of Sam Noble, I believe it is, as they come around onto the main straight. It's not too far away there in this battle either. Lap 17 of 32. So half race distance 31.39 after 16 laps for Dylan Rudd. So we're heading for post 60 minutes again, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. The races have been pressing towards 70 minutes so far this season, but this one's a pretty fast one by those standards. That all changes if we get a safety car, of course. Here they go one more time. Ben Morris holding on to 20th now. We've got by Sam Noble, so a nice move there. But again, it all come unstuck for Benny on lap one there, Matt. His spin coming through the stadium section, out of the stadium section. It's a case of what might have been, because we know that Ben's got the speed. It's just a matter of conversion, and that's where he's misfiring at the moment.
He's considering himself lucky, actually. He's only lost 6 positions out from where he started, so the spin definitely has cost him some places on the grid there and in the race tonight. But I mean, look, we know he's got the pace, and we know he's a good, hard racer, so he's going to be on the loud pedal for the rest of the race to try and make it back up, to try and battle. At the moment, Cam Jones is in 10th position, so we'll go for that. Battle Cam Jones for the top 10 position there, and try and see himself up towards the pointy end of the field after that spin at the start of the race in the stadium.
Up 18 32. Ben Morris in 20th position at the front. It's still Dylan Rudd from Rainer Costello, margin less than half a second. In fact, top 3 separated by less than a second at the moment. And Alex Court and Blake Warboys have dropped off a little bit on that battle pack right now. Battle's emerging right throughout the field here. You're watching Ben Morris skip clear in 20th position, ahead of Sam Noble, Mitch Campbell, Chris Barnes as well, as they head down towards turn one more time. So 35 minutes of racing already in the books here. The business end still to come. The important process of this night, the second round of pit stops, the run to the checkered flag, and that has been the defining points of the racing we've seen so far in the opening 3 weeks. We'll wait and see what madness unfolds before our very eyes, what the script writers have got in mind for us this week a little bit later on. This battle is awesome at the front of the field. A 9.90, Dylan Rudd, Rainer Costello, Aaron Dodd, then Alex Court and Blake Warboys. They've dropped off a little bit, but they're still okay. They're placed well if we get a safety car, and they're also placed well with fuel strategy and other things as well, particularly Alex Court. I'm interested to see when he might come into pit lane. His window will be in the next couple of laps. In fact, everybody's window will be at the conclusion of the next lap. They could top up at the end of 19 and get home with 13 to go. We've got 14 to go as they cross the line. It's Dylan Rudd, Rainer Costello, Aaron Dodd, and there's nothing in it. And now, look at this, Warboys and Court. Warboys down on the inside of Court. Alex Court is going to lose 4th spot here to Blake Warboys. Warboys down on the inside, goes 4th. Nice move from Blake Warboys. He's been trying to set that up for a couple of laps, and he's finally got it done. Dylan Rudd holds the lead for the moment, but not without some pressure here. As they make their way through out of the stadium section. Costello, Dodd, Warboys, Court, then Pereira, all chasing Dylan Rudd right now as they head down to the hairpin to bring him home on the second half of the lap. Lap 19:32, I've just lost Matt Davis momentarily. Why don't we, whilst we wait for this, we'll crank up the volume, we'll give it a chance to sort itself out at our end. We'll crank up the volume here as Dylan Rudd, Rainer Costello and Aaron Dodd go about their business here at the Nurburgring. Let's crank up the volume and enjoy the V8s hard at work around the Nurburgring as we desperately await the second round of pit stops. Dylan right into the pits as we rejoin you from the Nurburgring, ladies and gentlemen. Rainer Costello and Aaron Dodd had already completed their pit stop. They did that while we were riding on board with Dylan Rudd there. How nice to just be able to crank up the volume and listen to the supercars hard at work around the Nurburgring. Matt Davis back in here alongside me. We're reaching the business end here, mate. A lot of eyes on this guy now as Dylan Rudd comes in to complete his second pit stop.
Costello and Dodd have completed theirs. Rudd's in for his, so we'll stay on with Costello for you, ladies and gentlemen. Find out where Rudd pops out from pit lane. He's moving now. He's out of pit lane. Costello pips Rudd on pit lane. Costello, your new, should I say, technical race leader at the moment. Aaron Dodd in just behind him. So Costello with the excellent pit strategy in this race. But the big question is, has Rudd overfueled, Zach, or has Costello and Dodd underfueled? That's going to be the big question.
Yep, a lot of eyes on fuel loads, especially given what happened on the last on the cooldown lap at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago. So Costello, the effective race leader here, once everything balances out. Good to have you company wherever you're tuning in around Australia on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. It's the 955 of Ash Davis that leads this field, but he's got a pit stop to complete. Then you go back to Costello, Dodd, Rudd, then Warboys. Sorry, no, the 020, I should say, of Hayden Norris is in there, also yet to stop. Warboys, Pereira, Leonage. And then the 74, of course, sitting in there, Chris Barnes in 10th position, also yet to stop a second time. Here is Ash Davis, the 955 entry coming through into the final sequence of corners. So he's going long. He is going long. Now, this, I tell you what, we've only got 11 laps to go. I'm not sure. Hang on. Pit lane penalty for
look at this.
737. Aaron Dodd for a pit lane infringement on lap 19. Are you kidding me? And something's happened to him anyway, because he's in the pit lane and he's dropped down the order before that. Aaron Dodd is on pit road. Let's have a look at the infringement this time and see what race controller pinged him for. Is it the entry? Uh-oh. Waiting for it. He was following Costello through it. Whoa, no!
Big slide by Dodd.
No! And then cleared the wall for good measure. Wow. Just when it couldn't get any worse.
It got worse.
Yep. Now, I'm interested in a couple of things here as well, Matt Davis, because we've been having a discussion off air during that Crank Up the Volume about the pit lane entry and the overuse of the red and white curbs there sitting on the entrance to pit lane. Because if you look at the entry to pit lane, have a look at this in the meantime too, ladies and gentlemen. The NTS replay, we'll get that to you in a moment, as poor old Aaron, Dylan Rudd just sits there in pit lane helpless, and sorry, Aaron Dodd, I should say, the 737. It's just extraordinary what's unfolding before our very eyes. Now, that's the critical point. That's the talking point. Now, this is the thing. Race Control have now cracked down on use of that red and white curve. This is what I was trying to articulate, but I needed the picture to do it. So I'm glad we've got that to you. Because at the end of the day, I've got mixed feelings about it, Matt Davis. One, rules are rules. But two, as you come out of that chicane, the car, the momentum, the undulation automatically takes you left. And then it's a sharp turn back right. Some drivers have been able to get in, and some drivers have had to use that red and white ripple strip to get through into pit lane. Race Controller frowned upon it and said, "Nah, you're gone." So it's interesting because there isn't a lot of room there, is there, to make your entrance into pit lane?
No, there's not a lot of room at all, and a lot of not outrage, but a lot of spark has been thrown up in the air with it being on the racing line. For instance, Watkins Glen would be a very good talking point about that one, because you can either take the racing line or hug it nice and tight. And a lot of guys that were saying, and there's been a talk not just through the RSRA, but through many other ones as well, that there we go, 06 pit lane infringement, lap 21. So Race Control with the infringements being dealt out tonight, not as severe. And 303 pit lane infringement. So
and that's Dean Reddit.
That's
JP's going to jump in here as well, Matt Davis. Before we go any further, JP, what can you tell us, mate?
Guys, yeah, look, although there's been a bit of conjecture with pit lane entries and exits, and this particular track doesn't really have the pit bays marked very well. Now, that all well and good, that should have been a penalty for that pit lane entry. Aaron Dodd came in and came into the pit lane there well after the control line. However, his penalty wasn't for that. His penalty was for his pit exit. He didn't exit into the fast lane. He stayed in the slow lane for way too long. Race Control have been all over that for these races.
And Race Control have been pretty consistent with it as well, Matt Davis, to be fair.
That's one thing they have been consistent is those pit lane infringements, and it's been catching a lot of drivers out. So as we see Ash Davis going for an extremely long stint as well here. He's still out, 9 laps to go as well, Zach Haven. I've just actually picked that up as I've seen Rainer Costello come around turn 1. Look at the time tower and Ash Davis is there. But no, race control have definitely been dealing those out, and they haven't been going light on them either. So really trying to get those drivers to play it fair, should I say. We know that there is a little bit of an advantage going out to pole position. They obviously get the first pit bay in pit lane. So instead of having those guys drive straight out the front of their pit lane and straight out past the control line to resume racing, they actually have to come back into the fast lane, which it's only half a second, but a half a second could mean the difference between first position and second.
So 9 laps to go. Rainer Costello on track for 3 from 3, but would you believe it? He stole the last 2 out from under Dylan Rudd. This one, well, you could say he stole it from out behind the tail of Aaron Dodd, but at this point in time, he has managed to pip Dylan Rudd on pit lane. He's kept him at bay for about 1.3 seconds at the moment as the margin. It's holding steady. Now, it could be one of the first times this season where we see Rainer Costello win the race on the track, because the last week it was the engine letting go for Dylan Rudd. The weekend before it was him running out of fuel and getting a post-race penalty for not being able to complete the cool-down lap. So just after 2 weeks of Rainer Costello stealing victory from the jaws of defeat, it looks like this time it could be victory for him. And we have still got Aaron Dodd on pit lane, and that is depressing scene with all sorts of damage on the back of that collision with the pit wall.
One thing to notice as well, Zach Caven, and everybody following at home, if you've been noticing over the weeks and following Rainer Costello very, very closely, he's not one to let the lights flash, or should I say not let the lights flash at all. We know coming into the dying stages of the race, if he's following someone and he's wanting that position, those lights are going blaze. And Dylan Rudd is giving a little bit of medicine back to Rainer Costello with giving those lights a little bit of a flash in the rear view mirror of Rainer Costello. So a little bit of taste of his own medicine there, Costello, but I mean, racing is racing, so you're bound to see those little moves happen.
I'm just going to quickly jump in here and update everybody on the Rugby Union. France leading the Wallabies 22-16 at the moment, but there are still 21.5 minutes to play. So the second test very much up for grabs and on the line at the moment. Let's turn our attention back to Ash Davis. Could he have taken fresh tyres in the first stint? Because to me, getting 25 laps out of a fresh set of tyres, that seems absurd.
Nah. He's doing very, very low 57s compared to the 155s, 156s. So we'd say that he'd be on the second set. He's still his first set of tyres. He'll be taking the second set right about now with a very late pit dive. So one that race control is going to be having a look at as well.
And that's exactly, like, when we get into the post-race show, if we can, and this is a message to the director, he might be able to sort this out for us. I want to have a look from just, above one of the race cars, a camera that shows the pit entry and just how narrow that piece of real estate is before where the road starts and the white lines, the white broken lines start, and then the red and white ripple strip kicks in, because it is very, very narrow. And a lot of people are abusing the privilege tonight. But in their defence, it is an extremely narrow pit entry without using that ripple strip is what I'm trying to say. I'll get my words out eventually, ladies and gentlemen. Oran Park's a very, that's
another
shocking pit lane. It's a shocking pit lane entry. God rest its soul. 26 of 32. Rainer Costello, Dylan Rudd, Ash Davis, Blake Warboys were the top 4 classified at the line ast time by Dylan Pereira, Ray Hunley, and Arjun Alex Court. So in all of that, Alex Court, unfortunately, has dropped down to 7th position. And it was for a 49-second pit stop. Again, not having the timing screen on because it just wasn't playing ball tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That information has only just been sent through to us. We're getting info through too that Dylan Rudd may have short fueled. Alex Court with a 49-second pit stop is that's going to ruin his night, unfortunately, and his run of podiums. But Rainer Costello, what is it about this guy, Matt Davis? 5 straight wins at the end of last season in the NTS Super Series, then the second in Montreal at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, then 2 firsts. This could be a hat-trick to start the new season as well. The guy is just at the peak of his powers.
When I first started racing with Rainer Costello, it was a top 10 contender. But unfortunately, the racecraft just wasn't there from him. And he even mentioned last season at the end that he didn't have the greatest of starts. He didn't have the cool head that he has now. And he went back to the drawing board and really focused on getting the racecraft down, getting the cool head happening, and keeping cool, calm, and collected out on track and behind the wheel. And that has really showed. He won 5 on the trot against the championship leader, Lasse Leonage. Gave an absolutely massive fight back to only miss out on the championship by 1 point. And to come out in this season and to back it up, well, it could have been a freak of a drive, but to back it up and what could be a hat trick to start off season 2 for 2021 really goes to show that he's a force to reckon with.
Indeed, that is the case. Rainer Costello, he's going to work hard for this one every inch of the way, ladies and gentlemen. 5.5 laps to go, and Dylan Rudd is right there now. Right there. He's closed the gap considerably. This race is on. Game on for Rainer Costello and Dylan Rudd as they head towards the back section of this lap. 5 to go when they get back to the line. And Costello, he's got a very different view to what he's had the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, he's been looking out the front windscreen. Oh, here we go. 737 pit lane infringement on lap 22. 737 is, of course, Aaron Dodd. That's another pit lane penalty coming his way. Forget about it. The night's done. It's curtains for him. Dean Reddit, Rick Sibber have also copped penalties tonight. And Aaron Dodd copped 2 of them. Just getting a message through our earpiece, ladies and gentlemen, that if Dylan Rudd can get within 0.2 of a second here coming off the last corner, it's all about that run off the last corner, then he'll have an opportunity to have a crack at Rainer Costello into turn 1. If Costello can hold the margin to more than 0.2 of a second, he'll have enough to hold on, theoretically speaking. We keep an eye on this because every corner, every apex has to be hit perfectly from here, Matt. This is epic stuff. And as I said there a few moments ago, this week it's a completely different view for Rainer Costello. He's looking out the clear windscreen in front of him towards clear air, clear real estate, no traffic. The last 2 weeks, he's been looking directly at the tail of the car that's chasing him down now, the 990 of Dylan Rudd.
Yeah, positions have changed. The battle has changed coming into this week as Rudd gets right up on the back bumper of Costello here to come down the back straight. It's going to put Costello on the defense coming into the final corners, ladies and gentlemen. But different view for Rainer. He's not going to be used to this. He's had the past 2 wins handed to him. A win is a win at the end of the day, though. So as Rudd goes wide, almost catches the grass, gets the car unsettled, but he's looking to have a run. Can he get it done? Can he get it done into the final corner? Can he get 0.2? He's up on the inside of Costello now. What's going to happen? Side by side as they come into the chicane.
That was the best attacking opportunity we've seen tonight from Dylan Rudd. And Rainer Costello was more than up to the challenge. As they come round onto the main straight. 4 laps to go. Costello and Rudd. The the Mustang holding sway at the moment. Old habits die hard, ladies and gentlemen, as they head towards turn 1. It's a Ford and Holden duel here as they come out of turn 1. And Costello still holding on at the moment. But can he hold on for another 4 laps? Is there enough in the tank? Let's wait and see. This is a pressure cooker. Dylan Rudd will throw everything, absolutely everything at this. As I said, he needed to buy some luck. It needed to be a case of third time lucky for him tonight after the wretched misfortune of the previous 2 weeks. He was owed one tonight, but Rainer Costello doesn't give them away easily. So this is one that he's going to have to work for.
All right.
Going to have to go wide here, Matt Davis. He's going to have to go wide because Rainer Costello is going to make this Mustang as wide as humanly possible. So Rudd, whatever he throws at the youngster here, he's going to have to do it the hard way.
Costello's going to make Rudd work for this position like Rudd hasn't worked one before. He is going to be making that Mustang not 1.5, not 2 Mustangs wide, but he's going to be making it 3 Mustangs wide. So Costello's going to try and make him go the long way around, no matter which corner he's in. So, Costello's definitely going to be feeling the pressure and feeling the heat coming out of that engine bay from that ZB Commodore.
Now back to Cameron Jones, putting the pressure on Alex Court at the moment. So this is the battle for 7th now. Court will try and hold on to 6th. Jones will want nothing more than to find a way by. Again, a case of Commodore v Mustang here. Jones throwing everything at it, but not close enough. Through they go. This is an absolute pressure cooker. Every sentence of that word. And look at Sean McNamara lunging up on the back of Cameron Jones now. Onto the main straight. Jones was taily. But he's okay. 3 laps to go. Another near 6 minutes of racing to come your way here, folks. We're not over yet. Jones takes a very tight approach to turn 1. Ford answers the challenge for the moment. Rudd still pressuring Costello at the front of the field. We'll keep our eyes on that as well. I'm not sure if we're in a position to go side by side, but we'll see if we can. I don't think so. Not tonight. Sorry about that, folks. Rainer Costello, Dylan Rudd. Then Blake Warboys, Dylan Pereira, Rehan Leonage. Then this battle. And Jones tries to send it up around the outside. Have a look at this. Down the inside. Jones trying to go to 6th on court. No contact. Very cleanly done from this pair. And Jones is going to have the inside run as they get to the end of the first half of the lap. Can he convert? Down the inside to 6th. Yes, he can this time. Nicely done from Cameron Jones. Unrunning him a little. He's wide. He's contact. He's spun. He's gone. And Sean McNamara's left with nowhere to go. Oh, no. He's done it all himself. He's come undone. That's Cameron Jones. He was taily. He was loose. It didn't look comfortable. Have a look at this on the inside to the right-hander here. Oh, he's clipped the grass. That's what unsettled him. I wondered what had happened in the first part of the corner. Yes, there was no contact from Alex Court. I just got a little bit tongue-tied there. But we saw that Jones had bogged it down. He was sliding. He'd gone too deep as a result of getting it on the grass. And then he couldn't get it back. And poor old Sean McNamara had nowhere to go. But that's a free pass for Alex Court. And that'll consolidate 6th position, Matt Davis. Great drama there.
Excellent racing for 6th position. Excellent drama as well. And looks like 1st and 2nd are still battling it out here. Costello and Rudd, not much in it. Only 3/10 of a second, ladies and gentlemen. 4/10 of a second. So it's been like this for the past 4 laps between these guys. But Sean McNamara is the biggest loser. Cameron Jones and Sean McNamara are the biggest losers out of that little incident there for position 6. Big slide though by Rudd. Big slide. So that's hurting. That's not able to give Costello some breathing room. Costello now out to 7/10 of a second. Lap 31 to 32, ladies and gentlemen.
They are throwing everything at this, but we think that Rudd might have cooked his tyres. He might be shot here, and that's a tremendous leg up for this youngster who's going for 3 wins on the trot. What a performance this has been. He's going to be tight for time in terms of his post-race interview tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because school is back. But this is going to be already in the early stages a message to the rest of the paddock that for the next 8 weeks, this guy is the one to watch. This guy's the one to beat, and you better bring your A game if you're going to do it. 1 1/4 laps to go. Rainer Costello on the run home. And Dylan Rudd will throw everything at it, but it might not be enough. But at least, Matt Davis, it looks like this time round, I don't want to preempt anything happening on the last lap here, but it looks like finally Dylan Rudd's going to get himself back on the podium.
Hopefully Dylan Rudd can get himself back on the podium. Hopefully he hasn't short-fueled himself again to get down home on the cooldown lap. So don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the cooldown lap must be completed or they cop the 3 place penalty,
Yep.
which we saw having a Rudd happen at Watkins Glen. So what's given Rainer Costello the advantage as well, ladies and gentlemen. This is including pit lane transit time as well. Not the pit box time, the pit lane transit. 41 seconds to Costello in pit lane and the box compared to Dylan Rudd, Zach Kamen, with a 42-second pit lane stop.
It's a game of inches and centimetres, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? And tenths and hundredths. And on this occasion,
and I said it'd be one on pit lane.
Way. Absolutely. And well picked again from Matt Davis. Waltz in here at the 11th hour and proves to be the expert yet again. Rainer Costello, Dylan Rudd, Blake Warboys, Dylan Pereira. What a great result that is for Dylan Pereira. What a great result it is for Blake Warboys. If he can hold on here. Rehan Leonage is 5th. Alex Court, Peter Crossingham, Simon Chadwick. They both got by Sean McNamara. Jamie Dyke is 10th. So McNamara hugely compromised with that incident with Cameron Jones, who slipped all the way down to 14th position. Wretched luck for those guys, but we're on the run home. Again, Rudd will throw everything at this, but it won't be enough. Rainer Costello, what a great performance this has been from the young tearaway. Of course, the two 15-year-olds, him and Lachlan Murphy last year, teamed up to win the Bathurst 1000 together, and the 16-year-old Rainer Costello just again showcases what junior talent is all about. The tearaway runaway gets the job done at the Nurburgring. The Racecraft Simulations 160 is his. Round 4 of the RSRA Super Series. 3 on the trot for Rainer Costello. What a performance from that young man.
Absolute stellar racing by the young man tonight. And at the age of 16, I still can't believe that he's got such clean racecraft. If I can get the words out, Zach Kamen. Such clean racecraft that he's got. And to be mixing up with guys, twice, 3 times his age, that's something to be proud of.
Indeed it is. What a performance. Now, quick update from Amy Park, where the Wallabies are underway. 71st minute. The Wallabies have just gone in, I do believe, but it's going to be a TMO decision here. But 25-16 pending the review from the TMO. And the Wallabies still in the game if they get that try awarded. In the meantime, let's reflect on the fact that we've seen a cracking race here, Matt Davis. Dylan Rudd finally nets a good result without the misfortunes of running out of fuel on the cooldown lap or having the engine blow up on the last lap of the race. That was a result well overdue for him, and it's one that he needed in the championship. But unfortunately, he still is going to trail Rainer in the point standings, and that could come back to hurt him in the tail end of proceedings. What will be interesting to see is who got what in terms of clean races, 0 incidents, etc. and so forth tonight. But before we calculate any of that, Rudd will actually win the round because he got the pole position. So he'll win the round by 3 points, but he'll still trail by, 18 or 19 points or something like that going into the next round of the championship. So Costello just needs to keep up the consistency, and it's looking pretty good.
Well, it's definitely going to be championship alive from here on forward, if I must say, Zach Haven, ladies and gentlemen. 18 points, only around 4, and there's only 18 points in it. So, look, it's it's something that I'm definitely looking forward to keeping up in touch with, or should I say, over the next remaining weeks. I think there's only 8 more weeks to go of racing. So Wednesday nights I'm looking forward to, but Tuesday nights definitely heating up coming into the last 8 weeks of racing for these guys.
All right, let's celebrate with young Rainer Costello, ladies and gentlemen. Crank up the volume and watch this youngster perform the post-race celebrations. And he's getting pretty good at this, and he's getting a fair bit of practice at it as well.
And I'll take over from the spirit of Tasmania there, Zach Cabin, and say that Rainer Costello with a perfect 10 out of 10 burnout. Didn't touch the grass, didn't touch the wall. Had a little bit of a nice tip in and plenty of smoke. So Chris Kisby, the spirit of Tasmania, will be proud of that one. Rainer Costello.
Absolutely will be. 0.23 was the winning margin in the end. Rainer Costello from Dylan Rudd. Ford leads home. Holden, 4 Ford, 6 Holdens in the top 10. Blake Warboys put 2 Fords on the podium. Dylan Pereira, Rian Leonage, Alex Court, Peter Crossingham. Smorgasbord of Holdens in the midsection of the top 10 there. Simon Chadwick, Sean McNamara in the end, a disappointing 9th, given that it could have been 7th or, whatever the case may be. And then Jamie Dyke in for 10th position.
Roberts Crisdale comes home in 11th position. Matty Scholes in 12th. Ash Davis in 13th. Benny Morris in 14th. Rod Hollis in 15th. Mitch Campbell in 16th. Chris Barnes 17th. 18th, we'll see Lizzie Hobbs come home there. Dean Alessi and Rick Sibra rounding out your top 20 there, ladies and gentlemen.
Alan Dawson was 21st. Dean Reddit, Brian Cooper, Hayden Norris, Cameron Jones bounced down to 25th in the end. Disappointing end for him. David Kirby, Dean Power, Sam Noble, Craig Newell, and Craig Schultz made up the 30.
And we'll start getting into our, or should I say, non-finishers. And our lap drivers, Brendan Nitschke, Aaron Dodd, our lap drivers there, and then our non-finisher will be Kai Turner, who...
just on that. Sorry, Matt. Just on that, I was going to say, obviously, Kai Turner was involved in that. I know exactly where you're going. He was involved in that early race incident where he clouded the wall on the main straight, first Armco, then concrete. But look at that. Brenton Nitschke involved in an incident. Aaron Dodd involved in an incident. But we went safety car free for the first time this season. And everybody in the top 30 come home on the lead lap. That just proves, again, the pedigree of the driver we've got on show here every Tuesday night.
Oh, it definitely does. To go safety car free around such a tough circuit as well. I mean, geez, Wednesday Night Motorsport boys, they've got something to live up to after tonight's racing. It was action-packed. It was hard-fought racing on an extremely tough track. And to go safety car free, that's one heck of a job.
Rightio, let's rip into the post-race show here, Matt. You're going to stick around and ask a couple of questions of the young tearaway, so we'll bring him in first. Rainer Costello, this week, a little bit different to the narrative of the previous 2 weeks. Last week, the week before, you stole victory from the jaws of defeat. This week, you've clinched victory in a nail-biter, mate, and Dylan Rudd pushed you every step of the way. What a contest, what a showstopper it was, and 3 on the trot for you, which means in the last 9 races we've had on Tuesday Night Motorsport, you've been victorious in 8 of them and on the podium in all 9, mate. These are some impressive numbers you're racking up. Well done.
Yeah, well, it's nice to get one up on him on the season for where he hasn't had some bad luck. So that's sort of the first win where it's been really hard fought and there wasn't any bad luck. And it was a great race the whole way. I don't think there was a single moment in the race where I didn't have a 9.5 Sim Sports car in my rear mirror. So it was I think a bit of track position went my way and I drove the widest Mustang known to man.
And that just proves again the pedigree of this championship, folks. 3 different teams in the top 3 yet again tonight. And Rainer, just talk us through the race there, mate, because again, for the fact that it went safety car free at 1 hour, 3 minutes, 10 seconds, 0.956, the race time there for you. It was a pressure cooker every step of the way. You had to hit every apex perfectly. And in the end, it was a smarter second pit stop, a little bit quicker second pit stop that ended up being the difference in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing we've noticed over the past few races is the 9 to 5 cars, or Dylan and Aaron are really good on the starts or when the tires are cold. So we'll definitely have to have a look into that. The car actually hung onto the tires really well, and we started to come back at the end of the second stint when the tires were old. But the strategy was to try and get the undercut, put the tires on early, and yeah, because our tire, obviously it was only 1 lap difference, but every lap makes a difference. So we were just trying to hang on to the end and use track position to our advantage.
Now, I've got some big breaking news developing out of Goulburn as well, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm going to get to in just a moment. I've also got some breaking news out of Melbourne that we'll get to before the end of the broadcast, but we're not going to get to any of that before we let Rainer Costello go here.
Don't mention Melbourne, mate.
Because Rainer Costello is on a time limit here because of the fact that school is back. Mate, the next round of the championship, Alton Park Super Sprints. Super Sprints, a bit of your nemesis last season, given what happened at Sonoma. But obviously, Alton Park, a completely different kettle of fish, and you're going to need some overtaking practice, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be something different. First super sprint race of the year, so it's sure to spice things up in the championship and in the race. So it'll definitely be an interesting one. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it all goes.
Mate, the fact that the last couple of weeks, I mean, the races have varied, haven't they? We've had 160 kilometers. The distance has been consistent, but the fuel strategy each race to race has been so different. Last week, it was a pretty well documented 2-stop race. This week, it was all over the place. You could get home on 2 stops, but the way that we got there varied so much because you could have gone the critical lap number was lap 19, I think it was in the end. But given that the fuel tanks were lasting 13 laps, you had a lot of flexibility with where you came in, not only for the first stop, but the second as well.
Yeah, well, we've had a good variation this season. Some races where we've had to fuel safe to just make it on 2 stops, and some races where we've only had to put a small amount of fuel in at one of the stops. So yeah, it definitely makes for different racing, different challenges. But I'm a fan of the races where there's sort of opportunities for undercuts and overcuts because it sort of spices the race up, gives different opportunities for strategy. So yeah, we use that to a bit of our advantage tonight with the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Davis, I'm sure you got a couple of questions for the young tearaway.
Mate, I've got a couple questions for him, no doubt. Rainer, mate, congratulations. First time in the booth and watching you bring it home. And boy, you had a hard mission to bring that one home. Dylan Rudd all over the back bumper of your Mustang tonight, mate. So big well done to that. And you definitely earned the victory. Notice at the start of the race, we know you want to get away and hop away from the field with Dylan. Didn't quite have the legs for him at the start. Now, we know the 9.5 boys obviously have an awesome setup on cold tyres, and that setup sort of mellows out towards the end of the race there. The setup that you and Dan whipped up tonight, was that a more come alive towards the ending period of the race?
Yeah, we were finding in practice that it was quite good on our tyres. So obviously at the start we saw Dylan pulled the near 2-second gap within the first 2 to 3 laps. So our mission was to just sort of hold in there, wait for the track and the car to come to us, and towards the end we started to pull it in a little bit, and before the first pit stop we were right on his tail, and then yeah, managed to keep it on from there. The tyres did struggle a little bit in the last stint, but that was mainly due to me pushing the car a lot harder.
And fuel saving as well, Zach. That's one thing we did talk about in the broadcast tonight.
Absolutely, go for it.
A little bit of fuel saving by you tonight, Rainer, throughout the race to be able to pit Rudd on pit lane there.
I'm not sure what fuel saving is.
Very nice.
Mate, well, look, you deserve it, mate. You deserve it. So congratulations, mate. And no doubt we'll talk to you throughout the week.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, before you go, Rainer, bad news, mate. The the race might go your way, but the round won't, because not only did Dylan Rudd get pole position, so that gave him 5 points of a leg up there, therefore round win by 3, but that's going to become 8 because he also got a clean race tonight. 0x for 4 drivers tonight, ladies and gentlemen, namely Rudd, Court, Hollis, and Newell. So obviously Alex Court in the top 10 as well. There will be able to pip Rehan Leonage and Dylan Pereira on points for the round, and that'll put him 4th for the round, I would assume, behind Costello, Rudd, and Warboys. But again, those little bonus points, we talked about it being such an important factor in last season's championship lineup. It looks like it could be a telling tale yet again this season. What's the secret to qualifying, mate? Because Rudd and Dodd are throwing everything at it here.
Well, I didn't really get a fast run in. I was expecting the session to be 30 minutes, but I should have looked at that before I went out. So yeah, I went out around the 24-minute mark, put some tires on, and was going to go for it, but then the session ended, so didn't really get a chance to do our proper lap where I could put everything together. But yeah, I feel like we could have had the speed to be up there in qualifying, but yeah, didn't get the 5-point bonus for the race. So I sort of knew that Dylan would get that because I saw he was being good with all the track limits and he wasn't exceeding anywhere. So I was sort of expecting that, and I just sort of free held to lever and just went for the win after that.
All right, mate. We're running out of time as far as you're concerned, so please thank some sponsors now, and then we'll get your thoughts quickly on what's ahead, and then let you go.
I'd like to thank Coghlan Race Engineering for all their support. Daniel Coghlan for the setups and for crew chiefing for me during the races. He's a big help, and I really appreciate it. Breezy Simware, F Suicide, E1 Sim Racing for all their support. And I'd like to thank my mum and dad for all their support as well, and my dad who's watching out in Thierry, and my granddad who's also watching.
Well done, mate. Hey, Alton Park, I mentioned the fact that it's reverse grid racing, and obviously that's going to require some overtaking practice in the second race next Tuesday night. But what about the circuit itself? Because it's not everyone's cup of tea, but then again, that's the great challenge of this championship. You're going to go to circuits that suit one driver over the other, etc., and so forth.
Oh, like most circuits this season, I've never done driving in it in a supercar, but I've done a bit of driving in it in GCs and MX-5s. So so pretty much just the normal. But yeah, we'll do some practice, see how we go, and should be all good.
Well, at least you've got the circuit. I'm pleased to hear that. And it's an interesting time of the championship too, mate, because we got 3 different formats in 3 weeks. We go from this sprint round to next week's super sprint to the enduro the week after. How do you psych yourself up for all of
that? Just the usual preparations. Do our setup work, get the car feeling good, and then we'll focus on getting the last sort of tenths of a second out of it, and yeah, just make sure everything's taken care of, all the usual preparations.
Good stuff, mate. Go and get some sleep. Well done. You've earned it. 3 wins on the trot and 8 of the last 9. You're in some rare air at the moment. The statistics you're racking up, I'll tell you what, they're very, very impressive. We look forward to seeing if you can back it up again next week, mate. Well done.
Thanks, guys.
All right. 16-year-olds out. Let's get the conversation rolling on with Blake Warboys and Dylan Rudd. Matt Davis, before that, I know you're about to shoot through as well, but some thoughts from you, not just on what's unfolded tonight, but also a quick look ahead to tomorrow night, because again, the intensity's been upped in the RSRA Super 2E series in the sense that you guys run the same distance, relatively speaking, as the main game this season, which is a nice change of pace for them too, and a nice extra little challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Thoughts tonight, mate. Hard fought racing all round by the boys. Big shout out to the podium tonight, Rudd, Warboys, Costello. Excellent racing between those guys, especially Rudd and Costello. It was a battle all race long, and Aaron Dodd as well. Can't forget him. He made that battle pack up the front there, nice and interesting, but unfortunately just copped a nice big slide on the last corner, chasing down Costello, and that was his race done. But no. Wednesday night motorsports, the RSRA Super 2E series. What more could you want? It's literally a mirror image of what you're seeing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So open setups for the guys over there, which is good, and they're running the same race distance as well. So that bit of an added challenge to those coming or to those who have stayed on from the GAC, the Goodyear Kia Orana. V8 SuperSeries there. So no, look, the action is fierce on Wednesday nights, and as you've seen, you joined me on 2 nights so far on the Wednesday Night Motorsports to watch it, and I must admit, look, it's tight, it's hard racing, and the boys give plenty of racing room as well, and we've seen 3 wide through some corners that we didn't even think was possible. So it's a mirror image of what you seeing on Tuesday Night Motorsports, Zach and ladies and gentlemen, and I can't wait to jump back in the hot seat tomorrow night and call that race and to see what we can whip up around the Nurburgring.
Well done, mate. Go get some brownie points in the bag with the better half, and we look forward to having...
not more the brownie points, mate. It's some shut-eye and some Z's. So got to be up nice and early for work. So,
well, thanks very much for stepping in at the last minute, mate. We
More than
appreciate
welcome.
that. Enjoy the call tomorrow night, and obviously we'll catch up with you again next week.
Will do, mate. Godspeed, everybody, and chat soon.
All right, a couple of bits of breaking news here before we get to the rest of the post-race show for you, ladies and gentlemen. We will take you through till about 10:20, 10:30 tonight, as we usually do, and we've got a lot to try and chat about in this time. But I have breaking news from Melbourne, where the Wallabies have gone down to France in the second of the 3 test series, which sets up a decider. They're equal on points, though, because the first test was won by the Wallabies 23-21. The second test has been won by the French 28-26. I mean, just incredible, the tightness of the series at the moment. 2 nail-biters there. Now, on a motorsport front, good news coming out of Goulburn, with the Goulburn Mullery Council confirming that council has approved a development application for alterations and additions to Wakefield Park. The approved development will allow construction of a new pit lane building, a new off-road experience, ongoing use of visitor accommodation facilities, carrying out of general purpose markets 12 times a year, and a number of other additions as well. That is huge news for grassroots motorsport, state level motorsport in New South Wales, and particularly big news for Goulburn because that facility brings so much money into an investment into the local economy. Council stalled on that decision a couple of weeks ago because of protests from some morons down in that part that, can't handle the noise of motorsport, despite the fact that the facility's been there since 1994, because, in 2021, the minority finds a way of winning. But finally, common sense has prevailed. It's a big win for motorsport because obviously if Wakefield Park was unable to operate under conditions that was set out by council because they knocked back the DA, it could have been curtains for the facility, and it would have been left with just Sydney Motorsport Park as the permanent facility for competitive grassroots motorsports. So that is big news out of Goulburn tonight. Right, let's get back into the post-race show here. If you're just joining us, this is SimShed Broadcasting, our coverage from the Nurburgring. How good does the aerial shot look of the German circuit? Round 4 of the RSRA Super Series. The Racecraft Simulations Nurburgring 160. It was won by Rainer Costello. We've already caught up with him. Let's catch up with Dylan Rudd and also Blake Warboys now. Dylan, finally, the cat's off the back, the monkey's off the back, mate. That must have been a nice relief for you to cross the finish line and get back to pit lane because, by gee, the last 2 weeks, you just can't write this crap.
Yeah, it was definitely a better feeling than the last 2 weeks. So, yeah.
Frustrating, obviously, the last 2 weeks. They say things come in threes. Thankfully, third time was good luck instead of bad luck. Third time lucky in your case. But by gee, you had to work hard for second after leading for much of the opening 20-odd laps.
Yeah. Struggled a bit in the middle stint with tyre wear. It was a bit more than I expected. And then obviously Rainer got the undercut for the last stint, and then just, I was going for the clean race bonus point, so I wasn't playing it very careful, so it probably hampered me in having passing him in a few spots, but yeah.
Indeed. Now, with regards to the race strategy, you mentioned tyres. Tyre wear, always an interesting point in this series. Did you think of coming in earlier and getting on the fresh set of rubber, or was it always in your mindset and your game plan to stick with Rayner there?
I was definitely coming in on lap 20 or whichever lap I pitted on. I was always coming in on that lap, but obviously Rainer pitted lap 19. So yeah, and then obviously the first stint just run it as long as I can so I can have fresh tyres for the closest I can to the end. But obviously Rainer getting the undercut wasn't ideal.
No. However, in saying all of that, mate, well done, because you do win the round. Is it a hollow feeling that you win the round when you finish second in the race? But at the end of the day, bonus points are bonus points, and they play a critical role in the outcome of these championships. And you need to make the most of picking up as many as you can. And qualifying has been your wheelhouse so far this season.
Yeah, obviously the bonus points is probably going to be the only way I make up the gap in the championship. So Rainer's been very consistent this season so far, so it's going to be hard just to try and obviously win each round, but it's only 2 points from, or a couple of points from first, second, and third in the standing. So the bonus points is what gonna make the difference, really.
Stay with me here, mate, because I've got a couple more questions for you in a moment. I just want to bring in Blake Warboys at this point in time. Blake, third tonight. A fine performance from you. 2 Fords on the podium. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, it's great to be on the podium. Coming back into the series now, and to get a podium so soon is great for our team. We're only still very new and young in the aspects of open setups, so every race we do, we're learning a lot. So yeah, it's great to have a podium already.
A pressure cooker sort of race though, mate, because for the most part there, you were following Costello, Rudd, and Dodd, and you were fourth in that action battle pack for much of the night. What was the downfall? What was your Achilles heel there in not being able to get on top of those guys?
We just sort of seem to lack a little bit of drive off the corners. The other guys just seem to have a bit better drive, whether it's just that we can't get to the apex quite right or whatever it is. We'll keep working at it, and hopefully we can close that gap, because it looks like great fun battling up the front there.
It's a tricky circuit, the Nurburgring. Is it one of your favourites or not?
Yeah, I like the track. I love the chicane and everything. Just being able to flow the car through really nice. It's great fun. Yeah, really enjoy it.
What about you, Dylan? Is this a track that you really like, or are there others that you enjoy more?
There's definitely others I enjoy more, that's for sure.
and yet he still walked away with the round win tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Just remember that. Strategy for you, I mean, very similar to those around you. It looked like everyone was keen to do a long first stint, a short second stint, and a long third stint on new tyres. How critical was the tyre wear factor at your end tonight?
Yeah, well, at the tyre wear towards the end of the second stint, getting quite up there. So the earliest you could pit to get those new tyres on definitely helped out. Seemed to jump a few guys. Got a good gap out of the pits and just able to maintain it with the setup we had, which was good. Looked after the tyres well.
Indeed it did, and obviously nice to see you on the podium as well. Nice to see Dylan Rudd back on the podium. Dylan, I hate to dredge up the past, but just talk us through the pain and despair of last week at where were we last week? I'm just trying to remember. We had Watkins Glen, we've had Montreal, we had Laguna Seca, of course. I knew it was the west coast of America. I just couldn't remember where. But to have the engine let go on the very last lap there on the run home to the checkered flag, your heart must have sunk.
Yeah, definitely. Still not sure what caused it to blow up, but yeah, who knows? So it's what it is.
That's what they all say. Now, just on all of that, we'll have a look at the round points and the championship points for you very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. But I've got these two guys here for a little bit longer to have a chat about what was an awesome night at the office. The intensity at the front of the field, Dylan, the fact that, I mean, obviously Aaron Dodd came undone. It was his own doing there, coming into pit lane. He's had that spin, collected the Armco, day done, curtains. But the competitiveness at the front of the field, you can't afford to give an inch away in this championship at the moment, because there's always someone waiting to snatch your position if you do slip up. How much pressure do you feel knowing that you've got 3 or 4 guys around you that are just as on song as you are, and that you need to hit every apex right?
Yeah, it definitely keeps the pressure on, keeps the racing exciting. Yeah, so you just need to minimize all the mistakes you can in each race, and yeah, keep it clean.
Keep it clean, all right. And that's been a hallmark to your season so far, despite the misfortune of the last 2 weeks. The fact that you have kept it clean, you pick up those extra 5 points tonight for a 0x race. Not an easy thing to do, considering in a field of 33, only 4 of you came home with a clean race tonight.
Yeah, this track probably I wasn't expecting to do a clean race, but got through the first 2 stints and it's no incidents. So I just thought I'd just keep it going and try get no incidents.
Here's an interesting one for you, fellas. I'll get both of you to chime in here. We're looking at the circuit, and we're using the World Endurance Championship chicane, or S-bend, if you like, at the end of the back straight, not the Formula One chicane, which requires a lot more braking, a lot more slower approach. Which do you prefer, and how much did the fact that you were running the faster chicane tonight help you in terms of continuing to build the momentum here? Because it was one of those things where, from what I was viewing, from what I was seeing in the commentary box, what would otherwise be a solid overtaking maneuver into that chicane, that was one less overtaking opportunity on the circuit.
Yeah, I've actually never driven the other chicane, so I'm not really too sure.
You haven't even played a Formula One video game?
Not here, no.
Okay, copy that. Blake?
Yeah, definitely you miss out on probably a crucial overtaking spot on the track. And then like even a run out of there can set you up really nice into the final corner. But even with this layout, if the guy in front of you sort of has a slight slip up, you can still have a really good dive into the final corner. So yeah, I like the other layout with the having to slow down a bit more and use a bit more chicane. I find them quite fun.
Indeed. Now, sorry guys, you just caught me having a sugar hit. I've got a couple of lollies here in front of me and just trying to suck on a couple of them as we go through the post-race here. Keep myself going. Now, next week, Alton Park, Super Sprint, which means you guys are going to be at the pointy end for race 1 and then working your way back through in race 2. Blake, I'll start with you. Overtaking practice. So you ready for it next week? Because there's going to be plenty of opportunities for it.
Yeah, I'll probably jump in a few league races through the week and yeah, get some practice. Might start at the back a few times and just get some practice around the track. It's usually what I like to do. Just yeah, see how we go. We love passing and having a good battle, so we can keep it clean. It'll be good fun.
Dylan, what's your approach going to be, mate? Because at the end of the day, you're still trying to gain some ascendancy here and chase the deficit down to Rayner.
Yeah, Alton Park's definitely not an easy place to pass, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be hopefully good battles on track in the second race, and yeah, should be good.
Indeed. Now the other point that we should make too, folks, is that we're 4 rounds into the 12, so we're a third of the way through the campaign already. 2 months' time, 7th of September, we'll be crowning our winner at Mount Panorama in a double super sprint format race. We'll have a 100-kilometre race to start us off, a 150-kilometre race to bring us home, and so much action ahead for that particular round. Next week will be super sprint, the week after the first enduro. Guys, I'll just pick your brain on that quickly. The fact that it's a new circuit, the fact that we go to Chicago and Red Bull Ring as well this season, the 2 new circuits on the calendar that are new to the platform, it kind of evens out the field a little bit. Because of the fact that no one's had the time to get on the circuit, get some miles, fresh set of heels. It's a clean slate. It throws the cat amongst the pigeons, doesn't it? It makes preparation for those 2 rounds particularly so much more important. What are your thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah, it's definitely make a bit of a more even playing field. Especially around Chicago, it's very tight street circuit, so it'll be interesting. And Red Bull Ring, it be a bit of a nice open flying, so it should both be two good tracks. And yeah,
Blake 4 rounds down, 8 to go, but plenty of mileage ahead. I mean, again, because of the fact that we've got those two new circuits, I want your thoughts on that. So start me there. But then also the fact that every race counts this season as opposed to last season where we had the two drop rounds. So much more pressure this season.
Yeah, I'll definitely be taking it easy at Chicago, let's say. I'll be looking after the car and try and minimize the mistakes. Street circuits aren't really my forte, per se, as I'm still coming to grips with the sim. But yeah, the Red Bull Ring should be good fun. It was quite fun on the Formula 1 game, so we'll see how it is in the iRacing, and yeah, have some fun and try and finish the season with a high.
Absolutely, and of course Bathurst being the finale as per usual, and 3 different formats for your Bathurst finales this season, ladies and gentlemen. The 250-kilometre sprint in season 1, the 2 split races in season 2, and then the big 1,000 in season 3. I think that's going to be Sunday, December 19. So lock that in your diary. On the couch with us. I think there's also an Australia-England Ashes test match around the same time. So make sure you got the 2 screens set up ready to go to watch all the action from the mountain and all the action in the Ashes as well. That is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. Boys, I'll come back to you in a moment to get some thank yous for your sponsors, etc. and so forth, and any other comments you might want to make. But firstly, let's have a look at the championship points if they're ready at the end of this round. Let's rip the Band-Aid off this one and let you know that Raider Costello still holds the advantage at 16 points now to Dylan Rudd, who really stepped up tonight and delivered and snagged the goods. He's put 12 points on Alex Court, because Court in the end was only able to manage 6th position, and 5 of, again, Court had a clean race as well, but Rudd with the extra 5 points for pole position, he was able to turn around the deficit of last week to Court and then really accelerate away. Blake Warboys there, 5:46, 3 points clear of Matty Scholes, 1 point clear of Rian Leonard. So again, I mean, no margin for error, because look at that, 4 points between 4th and 6th, then a good gap back to Dean Reddit, Peter Crossingham, and Mitch Campbell not too far away. Dylan Pereira, sub 500 points on 497. Over the page we go. And down the order to have a look at some of the names that should be further up but aren't, because they've just had an absolute shocker along the course of the season so far. Jamie Dyke is 11th, Ben Morris, Alan Dawson, Dean Alessi, Dean Power. Then Chris Barnes, Rod Hollis, Lindsay Hobbs, Brian Cooper, and Rick Sibra take us back to 20th. We go over the page one more time. Craig Schultz, David Kirby. Said Kirby normally got good pace, but has been nowhere so far this season. Hayden Norris, Simon Chadwick, Sam Noble, Cameron Jones, another. Was going so well for him tonight. Inside the top 10, ended up well down the order in about 25th position. I think it was in the end. Behind him, Sean McNamara. Again, those 2 DNFs are really going to cruel his chances this season. Robert Crisdale, Ash Davis, and then Aaron Dodd, who has had all the pace in the world and none of the bloody luck. That takes you back to 30th position, and then the rest of the field showing there as well. Good stuff. Really good stuff in the RSRA Super Series, the Racecraft Simulations Nurburgring 160 done and dusted, round 4 of the championship. We're going to finish a little bit early tonight, folks, because I'm running out of content here and I don't have any co-commentators to steer the conversation around. So it's what my little brain can muster up and nothing else. Dylan and Blake, some thank yous for your sponsors, please. Starting with you, Blake Warboys.
Well, firstly, I'd love to thank the team, WKMP Sim Sports, for all their help and support. Wodonga Carts and Parts, WKMP Race Engines, Dirty Pig Clothing for coming on as a new sponsor for this season, and Kinetic Industries for their help. Also to Nathan Brown, who should be racing in the series, but due to a badly dislocated finger, possibly broken as well, is now spotting for me. So big thanks to him as well.
That'd be every bit of the frustration as it sounds, ladies and gentlemen, because the pain of the finger would be one thing, but then I had the similar experience in the real world this weekend, just gone. One of our Queensland Touring Car Championship competitors, Les Hannafin, g'day to you, Hanno, if you are tuning in. He was there as moral support for his team, but his car wasn't out on the racetrack, and it's painful watching from the wrong side of the fence when you should be out there in the thick of the action. I'm sure it's the same in Blake's spotters department right now as well. But that being said, Blake, before I get to Dylan's thank yous, how important is it to have a spotter in a series like this?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been a massive help. Just knowing if there's a car beside you, because usually crew chief or whatever you're using doesn't really pick it up that well. So just having him there, and just car left and doing a bit of fuel calculation as well, just to make sure. We had a bit of a doozy last week, but turned it around this week and got the podium. So yeah, no, it's been really good. But he's itching to get back in the sim, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll get the all clear soon to be able to get back to some driving.
For sure. Obviously, curtains on this season, but one eye towards the end of the year. And obviously, I know the co-driver draft will begin very shortly as everyone starts lining up who they want to team up with for the Bathurst 1000 at the end of the year as well. And that is going to be huge. Dylan, some thank yous from you, please, mate.
I'd just like to thank all the guys at 95 Sim Sport, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, iClean Solar, Ipswich and Brisbane, Boss Surveillance Systems, 80 3D 3D printing services, Cutting Edge Tracks, Racing is Customer Protection, and RSW Graphics.
I was going to say, the 9.5 SimSport team, normally we're used to having Sean McNamara in here as the spokesperson. Now it's you, of course, Dylan. The boss must be happy that someone at least is flying the flag at the front end of town, because for McNamara, those first 2 weeks couldn't have gone much worse. And then tonight, unfortunately, he's got caught up with nowhere to go when Cameron Jones spun in front of him. So he can't take a trick at the moment.
No, he's had a bit of bad luck, so hopefully in the next few rounds he can maybe get back up on the podium. So yeah.
Blake, you mentioned something that triggered a question from my end, so let's see where we go here.
Yep.
You mentioned it. You mentioned a new sponsor.
Yep.
And I just want to gauge for the audience out there and for any aspiring sim racing competitors, how hard has it been to attract sponsors in the last 12 to 15 months? Has it been easier because everyone's turned to sim racing, or has it been harder because everyone's been trying to tighten the belts and save money under the cover of, as you know, COVID?
Well, Dirty Pig, he's a mate of one of our other drivers. So he was just looking for a bit more exposure, I guess, try and expand his business, which is what we're trying to do with the WKMP brand and I forgot to mention the LGK Karts Australia. This is sort of why we got into a bit more sim racing, to get a bit more coverage and get the brands out there. Obviously, it is very hard to put like some backing in towards teams. Like I also race go-karts, and it's also very hard to get the sponsorship for the go-karting as well, with the times that we're in. So, we're very thankful to everyone that we have on board, and always welcome new sponsors where and if they come about, and always willing to help out as well with anything they might need.
I would say it's hard just to go karting at the moment, given that grassroots sport is the first thing to get shelved and shafted when lockdowns and border restrictions and everything else come into play. Not to mention, obviously, the disappointing news out of the Gold Coast this week, that the little kart track down there, which played host to the Gold Coast Race of Stars, has also fallen victim of this 21st century notion of, if something makes noise and we don't like it, we'll just petition until it gets shut down, which is really unfortunate. And we're thinking of everybody down there at the moment as well. Well done tonight, boys. Congratulations. Blake, onwards and upwards for next week, mate. Obviously, the rest of the season, what's the ballpark figure now that you know you can run with these guys? He's sitting 4th or 5th in the point standings there. What's the key to, just other than obviously maintaining consistency, what's the key to stepping up a gear and trying to take it to these guys in a points perspective as the season unfolds, mate?
Well, obviously trying to get those bonus points would be our first thing. Trying to go for those clean races, and if we can, as we start to improve with our setups, going for those pole positions. But the way these front two guys are going, it'll be a fair way off, I think. We are still very new to developing our own setups, but we're slowly getting there. And yeah, the main thing is to keep everything clean and finish as high up in each race as we can. And if we finish probably top 5 would be amazing. Would be an incredible finish to the season.
Indeed it would be. And I was going to say, some people won't really appreciate 100% of what you're saying there with regards to the setup, but that's something that we'll pick your brain about at another point in time when we've got a bit more time in the post-race show here, mate. I'm starting to run out of time at my end. However, that's definitely something we'll come back and explore a little bit later on in the season. Dylan, I mean, it's going to be, by the looks of what we've seen thus far, it's going to be nose to tail, first, second, third. We just need Aaron Dodd to put a full race together for the rest of the season. It's been 4 pressure cookers thus far. You've been on the right end of one of them. You've finally got back on the podium after a couple of weeks of misfortunes. Obviously, every race, every lap is imperatively important and critical to your championship from this point forward. What's the secret to beating Rainer Costello as the season unfolds, as far as you're concerned, mate?
I'm not sure. Yeah, obviously.
It's a bit like that. He's in that sort of form, actually.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
We'll wait and see over the next 8 weeks, though, eh?
Yeah, we'll see how everything pans out. I'm sure it'll be close racing every round, so yeah.
I think so. What we've seen thus far has been absolutely fantastic, and more of the same where that came from next Tuesday night when we get to Alton Park. Well done, boys. Go get some sleep. You've earned it.
Thank you.
Now, let's start to wrap things up here for you, ladies and gentlemen. Just recapping the results tonight. That was a brilliant win for Rainer Costello, getting the job done from Dylan Rudd. Mere car links in that one. It was an absolute pressure cooker every step of the way. He continues to lead the championship on the back of getting the better of Dylan Rudd tonight. Blake Warboys with 3rd, sits 4th in the championship. Rehan Leonage, Alex Court finished 5th and 6th. Dylan Pereira was impressive, actually. There's a story. 4th in the qualifying session, 4th in the race, stayed where he started. He was the only driver in the top 5 to do that. Peter Crossingham started 7th, finished 7th. Sean McNamara and Jamie Dyke both started 9th, and 10th, finished 9th and 10th. So, I mean, again, qualifying is proving to be a pretty good indicator of where things are going to go in these races. Of course, next week, all bets are off. Throw the form guide out the window because we go reverse grid racing, and we're really looking forward to that. But again, Costello leads Rudd and Court in the championship fight. It was Costello from Rudd, Warboys, Pereira, and Leonage. Then Court, Crossingham, Chadwick, McNamara, and Dyke tonight in the 4th round of the Real Sim Racing Australia V8 Super Series. And we are looking forward to plenty more where that came from as the season goes on. Now, before we go, a couple of bits of housekeeping here. Huge thanks to the people that make it possible for us to do what we do. We mentioned about the drivers and their sponsors. Let's thank ours. Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Autocare Rana, Racecraft Simulations, DSL Welding, Dragon RC, Devon Stove Design, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and FU Suicide. Also SDK Gaming, Track Cams for Gourmet, and SimShed Broadcasting. Let's have a look ahead on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting because there's plenty to look forward to here as far as sim racing is concerned. Tomorrow night, the RSRA Super 2E Series from here at the Nurburgring in Germany, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Saturday night, Aidan Schultz in the booth, Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing, round 22. Yes, they're starting to get towards the business end of the season there. The RSRA Super Series continues next Tuesday night as well. But on that Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing, that is fantastic. Every single week it comes down to the wire. 7:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I think it was Martinsville last weekend. I'm not sure where they're off to this weekend, but looking forward to it all the same. Saturday night, 7:20. Aidan Schultz will be in the booth for that one. I may be able to pop in and say good day to him in the weeks ahead, but it depends on some emerging commitments with the Gentleman Sim Racing Club and also Rugby League Ipswich and a few other things as well. There's madness at the moment, but looking forward to that. As for us, next Tuesday night, don't forget, we're back with you, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Alton Park, the Super Sprint, and that is going to be an absolute cracker. Tuesday, 20th of July, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully the Spirit of Tasmania, Chris Kisby, will be back with us then. Hopefully Matt Davis will be able to jump in as well. And then I want to alert your attention to round 6, and I was only having a think about this before we got going tonight, but circle that in your diaries, folks. Tuesday, the 27th of July, yes, I know there's a certain event in Tokyo coming up that is going to captivate our imagination and hold our attention from first until last, and the swimming will be on, but I want you to come and join us on day 4 of Tokyo and our first Enduro of the season, live from 7:50, the earlier time, 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, being the longer race, being somewhere in the vicinity of an hour and a half to 2 hours. We will get that thing going at 8 o'clock, not 8:30. And same with the last round. When we have a double sprint race for the Triple Crown, we will get that in from 7:50 p.m. so that we can get it in and get everyone out of here still at 10:30 at the end of the broadcast. So that is what's ahead. 4 races down, 8 to come. We don't have a week off this season. We just go straight through to Tuesday, September 7. I hope you're enjoying what we've brought you thus far. Raider Costello has 3 wins on the trot, still holds the championship lead. Finally, things went Dylan Rudd's way tonight. It was a much better, more pleasing result for him than the last 2 weeks. And, of course, well done to Blake Warboys getting on the podium as well. I hope you've enjoyed it wherever you're tuning in around Australia, around the world, on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, be it across YouTube or Facebook. On behalf of Matt Davis, JP, and the team, Zach Caven bidding you a very good night. Thanks so much for watching Sim Racing on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, the Real Sim Racing Australia Super Series, a third of the way done. The Racecraft Simulations Nurburgring 160 goes the way of Rainer Costello. Until next week, bye for now.